Nobody in that room believed they belonged there. 8 soldiers, from a country most people on that field couldn't find on a map, standing in the cold, surrounded by some of the most decorated military instructors in the world. And the first thing those instructors did was smirk. Not loudly, not obviously, just the quiet kind of dismissal that says, "We already know how this ends." They were wrong. And what happened next would change the atmosphere of that entire training ground without a single word being spoken. This wasn't a local drill. This was a joint international military exercise, the kind where nations send their absolute best, where reputations are built and broken in real time, where there's no room to fake it. The Russian instructors who ran this program had spent decades designing tests built for one purpose: to expose weakness, fast, mercilessly, completely. They'd seen elite units crumble under the pressure, veterans freeze, decorated soldiers make amateur mistakes the moment the chaos got real. So when 8 Filipino Scout Rangers stepped onto that field, no fanfare, no introduction, just quiet discipline, the instructors barely looked up. One of them leaned toward a colleague. "These are the ones?" Just 3 words, said under his breath. But on a field where everyone is trained to notice everything, they landed, and the 8 Rangers heard every syllable. The first exercise was announced, a timed navigation and extraction drill. Teams dropped into unfamiliar terrain, find the target, secure it, extract without being detected. Simple in description, brutal in reality. Team after team went out. Most took the expected routes, slow, cautious, methodical. The instructors watched, made notes, exchanged glances. Then the Filipino Rangers stepped up. No huddle, no visible strategy session, just a quiet look exchanged between them. The kind that only makes sense if you've trained together long enough that words aren't necessary anymore. And then they were gone. The instructors watched the field. Seconds passed, then minutes. One checked his watch. Another raised binoculars. Nothing. No movement, no sound, no disruption, just silence. Now, on a military training ground, silence can mean 2 things. It can mean a team is lost, confused, stalled, or it can mean something far more unsettling. It can mean a team so precise, so controlled, that they move through space like they were never there at all. The instructors were about to find out which one this was. The signal flare went up. One instructor froze mid-sentence. The extraction point. Already. He looked at his watch, then looked again. The Rangers had completed the entire exercise in less than half the time of every team before them. No alerts triggered, no errors flagged, no trace of a mistake anywhere on the course. "That's not possible," he said quietly. But it had happened, right in front of them. When the Rangers returned, there was no celebration, no fists in the air, no chest beating, just controlled breathing, steady posture, 8 men who looked like they simply done what they came to do. An instructor stepped forward, demanding a full report. The team leader spoke calmly, every decision explained, every route justified, every adjustment accounted for in real time, without hesitation. The instructor listened, arms folded, face unreadable. Then he asked the question designed to find the crack. "Why did you take the ridge instead of the valley?" A pause, not long, but deliberate. "Because that's where you expected us to go." Silence. Not awkward silence, not confused silence, the kind of silence that fills a room when something undeniable has just been said and everyone in it knows it. No break was given. The next drill was announced immediately. Close quarters response under simulated pressure. Faster, tighter, designed to punish teams that relied on calm to perform. Because real situations aren't calm. Real danger doesn't wait for you to be ready. And this drill was built to prove exactly that. Teams went in. Hesitations were exposed, mistakes were amplified. Even experienced soldiers rushed when they shouldn't have, or froze when they needed to move. Then the Rangers entered. This time, the instructors weren't making side comments. They weren't glancing at notes. Every eye on that field was locked on these 8 men. Entry executed, targets identified, movements compressed to nothing wasted, no extra step, no unnecessary pivot, no hesitation between decisions. It wasn't flashy. There was no soundtrack, no dramatic flair. It was just exact. The kind of performance that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to. It simply is, and everyone watching either understands what they're seeing or they don't. These instructors understood. One of them exhaled slowly, the kind you don't notice until it's already left your body, like your lungs had been holding on to something this whole time. As the session ended, something had shifted on that field. You could feel it in the way the other soldiers stood, in the way conversations stopped when the Rangers walked past, in the way the instructors, men who had spent careers evaluating soldiers from dozens of nations, carried themselves differently. Respect doesn't always arrive with applause. Sometimes it arrives in the way a room goes quiet. One of the early skeptics approached a ranger, the same man who hours before had whispered, "Let's see how long they last." He didn't say much, just one question. "Where did you train?" The answer came without pride, without performance. "Back home." 2 words, that's it. Because here's what those 2 words meant. Everything those men carried wasn't imported. It wasn't handed to them by a prestigious institution or built on someone else's reputation. It was forged at home, in places most of the world doesn't think to look, through years of training that nobody filmed and nobody celebrated. They didn't arrive at that field trying to prove something. They arrived already knowing who they were. Later, as the cold settled back in over the field, the lead instructor addressed the group. He didn't make a speech, he never did. He said 3 sentences. Skill is not always where you expect it. Strength is not always what it looks like. Today was a reminder. And maybe that's the most important thing this story leaves behind. Not the drills, not the results, not the records, but the moment a group of men, dismissed before they ever took a single step, walked onto a field and quietly, calmly, completely changed how every person watching them saw the world. So I want to ask you directly, before today, if you had been standing on that field, would you have believed in those 8 Rangers? Or would you have smirked too? Be honest in the comments, because that answer says more about us than it does about them. And if this story meant something to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today.